Oh, nuts. Excuse the food. That's so good. This is the second video. Bear me 2 seconds, I'll just knock the video off. Knock the radio off. Go out to the radio. Ah, okay, that's better. This sort of thing. This is the second sort of video for the Beetle. This is a sort of the beginning of the video, but it's the end of my day for tinkering, or the end of my 2 days. So obviously in the last video I said I was going to cut all the rusty metal away from the body and the chassis, which I did. I had to use my reciprocating saw and sort of, as I said, go all around the inside of the body. I had to do that. The front bulkhead where it meets the Napoleon's hat, which is the weird sort of, excuse the sandwich, I'm starving. And bit at the front, I welded it there as well, so the bulkhead needed a little patch. But we did all that between me and James. Managed to lift the body up so he knew it was free. So my dad came over yesterday, knocked up sort of a stand. We copied somebody else's design that I found on Facebook. So whoever you are, thanks for that. We just made mine a little bit shorter and a little bit narrower. My space here is limited. We took about an hour to knock that up. Then while we were waiting for my brother-in-law, we sort of lifted the body up ourselves. I realised that the body is so light that even my 10-stone ass can lift it up, which I did, the front of it.
And here we have Captain I had Weetabix for breakfast lifting the front of the Volkswagen Beetle.
If anybody questions how heavy a Beetle is, I weigh 10 stone pissed wet through.
Yeah.
Beetle is not a heavy thing to lift at all. And so we lifted the body off. Now that was last night. What you are about to witness is what follows from earlier on. We've got the body off and I'll give you a quick talk through it now. So the body is now over there in the darkness on the pedestal that me and my old man made. It only took us an hour. If anything, we've made it a tiny little bit too narrow, so probably tomorrow we might just build a couple of braces to widen it, because obviously we do get a little bit of wind in the garden. The last thing I need is to find an upside down Beetle. There we go. There's the chassis. It's covered in rubbish, which is all stuff in and out of from in and out of the car. It's nowhere near as rotten as I thought it might be. I'm kind of pleased. You have to excuse the bikes. This is the Führer. No apology given. It's German and relentless. Yeah, so the worst is this back corner. You can see it's a bit manky. But it is only literally, this is probably the worst bit. I'll just chop this piece. I'll buy a patch corner and go from there. Most of it else will clean up. I've already had a sort of a scrape at the gearbox, and you can see there the body's never been off. There's sort of 47 years worth of mank. There's a weird fuel thing there. I don't know what that is. We'll find out in a moment. The back corner there is the same, but not as bad. Although I have had to cut quite deep into the chassis. I'm not going to climb across. The front corner, the Napoleon's hat there, although rusty looking, is pretty solid. And the same the other side. So that's, let's see if I can zoom in. Zoom! Whoa! Crappy video. Yeah, it looks pretty manky. But most of it's just surface rust and bits off the body, so that's pretty good. Good morning. It's the day after last night. Of course it is. It was the day after last night. I've got the bug on the stand as a... You can see it in the light of day now. There it is. It hasn't blown off there yet, so that's good. And what I'm going to do today, I've got to clean my BMW to get it ready to sell and charge the battery and stuff. Probably pump the tyres up a little bit, make sure it's okay. Is I'm going to try and degrease, clean off and degrease the chassis, which is in the background there. So I'm going to sort of drag that out of the garage as best I can on my own. But stick it on a trolley to get it off down the ramp. I'm going to jet wash it quickly, and then I'm going to paint everything with degreaser, then degrease everything and jet wash it again, and then put it back in the garage, and I'll see what it looks like afterwards. Okay, take care. So far I've swept all the rubbish off the floor pan. I've splashed a little bit of waste petrol, diesel mix that I had left over from when I filled my bike with diesel like a tit, over some of the suspension at the front because it's thick in grease. Some of the brake lines I've pulled out already because I've got one here which that was almost how it was running through the car. They've made it way too long, so that's going to be cut out anyway. I did find while I was cleaning and sweeping this interesting little thing here, like, which basically is the old classic snake oil lead balls in a can that's supposed to save your engine from running on unleaded fuel years ago, which turned out to be a complete farce. You can sort of see the corners where I've had to cut. You can see this is the remains of the weld on the inner panels of the bodywork, and again the edge of the body shell. You can see here the rust that I've cut off already. This is the remains of plating on the heater channels that I've chopped out as best I can to sort of save the floor pan, because the majority of the floor pan is pretty solid. A lot of this is will come off with a chisel, I hope, apart from maybe a couple of little bits that I might need to plate, but hopefully it all seems pretty good compared to how the floor pan was. Again here, this is welding, this is remains of body shell, where they've welded it to the floor. These are the two 17mm captive nuts. Luckily the Napoleon's head, or Napoleon's hat, sorry, as they call it, is pretty good. I'm really pleased with that. So yeah, all in all, so far, quite good. As far as I can tell, the bulkhead where the suspension bolts on, I think it's called the frame head, seems absolutely solid as a rock, and to be honest, with the amount of grease that's on it, I'm not surprised. You can see the remnants of blue paint as well, where the car's been painted in the past without taking the body off, which is nice. So now I'm gonna jet wash it, degrease it, and then jet wash it again. Sweep the garage and get it back in there. Haha. Now I took the beam off. The beam's really solid. 420mm bolts. I've got one on there already. I've got my impact gun, and then, as you can see, it's still pretty greasy, which will need cleaning. Excuse the camera angle. I've got one brake hose there to take off, and the same under the drum. All the brake pipes are all going to get replaced, so it doesn't matter. I may even just cut them for now, bung them up with a bit of something else, or crimp the pipes so they don't leak. And yeah, but as you can see, the front beam is pretty solid, so it's pretty good. I'm going to obviously repaint it in gloss. That might be the first thing that gets a coat of paint when I get bored of welding. Front suspension, all the bars and stuff, the torsion bar bits and pieces are all in really good nick, as is the steering damper. So that's all good news really. They'll just need a strip, replace some bushes and put back together. I have to cut a brake line, get one off. The other one came undone, but all the brake lines are all over the shop, as you'll see, so they're going to all get replaced along with the master cylinder. I'm sticking with drums, so it needs to be in tip-top condition. So yeah, the only nasty surprise was the front of the frame head, and I'll stick a picture up in a moment. I knew it had been plated underneath, and I was sort of 85% sure I was going to take that whole thing off and just put a bio replacement plate, because I don't know how well they'd done it. And to be honest, it looked like to me that they just plated over rusty metal, which they had. Then the bottom corner of the frame head, way below where the beam bolts on, there's a tiny piece. It's probably as big, smaller than my sandwich, which is where the rust, obviously water's gathered and rotted it out. I sort of panicked a little bit at first, and then realised that if I'd replaced the bottom plate, the inside, I've taken the inspection plate off, and the inside is pretty solid. It's just the bottom plate needs replacing in this little tiny patch. The rest of it is still really solid, so it's kind of good news. I think what I'm going to do is create two little patches, weld them in from the back, cut all the rusty metal out, weld them in from the back, and then weld them in from the front, so that I'm not changing the profile of the frame head, because it's a sort of curved piece where the beam bolts on, so I can't change that profile, or the beam won't bolt on right. So I'll plate it from the back, cut the rusty metal out, seam weld it into the front, and then grind the weld back so that so it's solid as a rock. I may even put a bit more reinforcement in the back, just for my own sort of, so I know it's done right. And yeah, go from there. And once that plate's off, then I'll be able to sort of clean all up inside that. And that was only a little surprise. So I'm going to go now because I've been talking for 7 minutes. My sandwich is going cold, as are my legs, because I haven't lit the fire. It's still December, or a very balmy 8 degrees in Stoke-on-Trent today. But I've had wet trousers on for about 3 hours now. So this video is probably going to be another 10 minutes long. Apologies if you can't be arsed watching it again. Thank you if you did. If anyone wants to comment things I'm doing wrong or things I'm doing right again, please do. You won't offend me. I mean, you can try, but good luck with that. So take care and thank you.